The story of Journey's development is a turbulent one. As the final installment of a 3-game deal with Sony, that game company signed a contract to deliver a finished product in a year, something the studio knew they weren't going to achieve. With time pressures and budgetary constraints at the forefront of the team's mind, the stress of development took its toll, leading to the cutting of overtime hours, prolonging development even more. What was initially a 1-year deal ultimately took over 3 years to complete, requiring multiple contract extensions to cross the finish line. It was even reported by the director that the company was driven to bankruptcy during the final months of development. With the team having trouble paring down ideas, multiple iterations of the project would be scrapped in order to achieve the desired artistic vision. Thankfully, through the hellish ride that was the development process, and by some miracle, the end product feels unified and homogeneous. However, would that be enough to save it? I think Journey is a well-made game, but my experience is a bit special, and I'll tell you why it wasn't a hit for me. Part of Journey's goal was to make players feel small, and in that respect, they have succeeded. The boundless waves of sand dunes is a captivating setting that still looks good today. It was interesting, and it was something I was keen on exploring, but I was sadly disappointed with what I found, or perhaps more accurately, what I didn't find. Exploration is one of the more interesting aspects of the game, but there were some good bits and not so good bits. You can illuminate murals, and find runes and rugs to extend your scarf, allowing you to stay airborne for longer. A charged scarf will allow you to fly for short periods, and flying from ribbon to ribbon without touching the ground was a pretty fun challenge I set for myself. The ripples in the dunes were a nice touch, and seeing the setting sun's light bounce off the surface as you slide down sandy slopes was relaxing. However, outside of the fun bits, there were some odd design choices. If you find yourself in a corner after exploring an area without any flight, trudging through sand is a little annoying. It wasn't enough to really get on my nerves, but I wish walking wasn't so slow. It felt like I was being punished for my curiosity because hitting a dead end meant I had to backtrack through sand at half speed. Following up the fun parts with some really slow parts not only killed momentum, but was a pain, and they became even more prevalent in the latter half of the game. The areas may be vast and its minimalism may be appealing, but its scope is narrow. The emptiness of the land wasn't always conducive to compelling gameplay or even evoking certain emotions that the developers probably intended, unless that emotion was mild boredom. I liked the aesthetics and the concept of the game, but exploring didn't provide the payoff I was looking for. Although this scored well in 2012, games and especially indie games have come a long way since then, and playing this for the first time over a decade after it came out, I could feel it. However, some things do hold up well. I thought the visuals were nice, and seeing another poor soul in the desert with me was oddly comforting, but outside of that, I can't say I was overly impressed with the overall package. But I definitely understand the appeal of wanting to play this for yourself to see what the fuss was all about, especially since it scored so well back in 2012. To say it's a bad game would be unfair. There are far worse ways to spend your time with some truly awful games, but this was a bit underwhelming. Since it's such a short game, I would only buy it if it's heavily discounted, and even then, it was still a slightly disappointing purchase. If it sounds like I'm being harsh, it's because I am. At only 2 hours long, it never overstays its welcome, but it doesn't do anything remarkable either. I got a similar feeling when I played Limbo. Since 2012, indie titles have made a lot of progress in storytelling, eliciting emotional responses, and creating a sense of scale. And it's in these avenues that Journey has been surpassed. And if you're curious, I do have a few games I would recommend in its place. One of the artists that worked on Journey created an underwater adventure called Abzu, which I thought was much more interesting. If you're really keen on the desert setting, then Sable is a relaxing journey of self-discovery, with a great art style, amazing music, and more meat on the bone. And thirdly, Jusant was a surprisingly engaging climbing adventure with an interesting world. All of these are great alternatives and improves upon Journey in many ways, probably using it as an inspiration. If I was judging it based on its impact on the genre, then my score would be different, but that's not what this review was about. My review was about how it feels to play it in the here and now. So my final take is that Journey is a perfectly fine game with some nice visuals, but visuals alone don't make a great experience. Indie games have come such a long way that I won't recommend it. But just so we're clear, it does still have some merits, and I'm not telling you to avoid it if you do want to play it. And that's my video on Journey. If you're emotionally mature, you can give me a thumbs up, or subscribe because I was only lukewarm on a game you really liked. As always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.